Okay, everyone. Thanks for coming tonight. This is the December 17th Town of Pownell Planning Board meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. There's a lot of folks here. I know you'll have some interest in the old business that we have. We're just going to take a couple minutes to do some Pownell, the planning board business stuff. We'll then let the applicant have a few minutes to go over the application. And I think what I'll do next, since there's so many folks here, is give everybody an opportunity to speak if they would like. We have a limited amount of time, as always, with these meetings. So we'll just ask that you keep comments relatively brief. And then after that, the planning board will be talking to the applicant about the project that's before us. I think that's probably the best way to handle it. So that being said, under Secretary's report, was there any questions about the meeting minutes from the November meeting? I move that we approve the meeting minutes as written. All in favor? Okay, that's the business portion. So you guys have the floor. Excuse me. Yes, sir. If you could, I think I will just have you introduce yourself first at the mic. Yep. For the internet. He could, yeah, there's a mic right there.
Good evening. My name's Peter Beagle. I'm a landscape architect with Land Design Solutions in Cumberland. I'm here tonight with Jim Cram, the owner and the applicant of the project.
You want to take care of me there? Or
Yeah, no, we're okay. Ready? Thank you. Okay. When we were here before the board last May, Jim gave a pretty thorough history of his family ties to the parcel over the past 75 years and a good description of the various characteristics of the parcel, as only a person who spent countless hours working on the land can do. Unless the board has an objection, we're not planning on going back through that history, but we thought we would start tonight with a brief reintroduction and then get into the latest information.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So here we have a picture of the old Stetson farmhouse located at 240 Brown Road. Let me see here. Okay. Tax map is up there just to give you a little sense of context. We've got Brown Road going right here where my cursor is going. This is tax map 1. Parcel 4 right here is the existing Stetson farm, the old farmhouse parcel. 5 is a slightly under an acre sized 220 Brown Road parcel. And this lot 6 parcel is the big piece. So we're here tonight, all 3 of those parcels being combined to form a 134.7 acre approximately parcel. This is from the town mapping, just to give you a little more context. We've got the town of Durham across the street from the Brown Road. We have the east branch of Chandler Brook along the boundary of our parcel on this side. Here we have the project site, and we have the Poland Range Road on the other, running parallel to the Brown Road on the other end of our site. Got a couple pictures, photographs here, just to kind of reintroduce the land. There's the old farmhouse at 240 Brown Road. This little map here shows the colored, lightly colored portion here is field areas. You can kind of see the tree line for the other areas. We've got 240 Brown Road house right here. We've got the 220 Brown Road parcel here. We've got the old English barn sitting down here. These red lines are all the trails. There are approximately 2.4 miles of trail that Jim has built over the years. Right down here we have Chandler Brook running along the border down here. View from kind of a drone view from the farmhouse looking towards the back of the property. This shows you some of the agricultural field section. This is during the green season. Aerial view, we've got the 240 Brown Road house right here, 220 right here, and the fields behind it. This picture on the left and picture on the right are different trails that are built through there. So these aren't just little, 2-foot wide trail. These are substantial trails that Jim's built through the property. Picture of Chandler Brook here, East Branch Chandler Brook. Little beaver dam along Chandler Brook up in here, just one of the other little unique characteristics of the site. We're in the RB zone. We also have a shoreland zone along the east branch of the river. Getting into our plan section here, notes, legend, sort of thing. This page here we have the boundary survey done by Owen Haskell. A complete boundary survey. We've got the wetlands shown on here, trails shown on here. Jim had them stake out the 150-foot setback along this line. So hopefully one of the next steps will be a site walk, and you folks can get out there, and that's be a good marker to see where that's at and what we have for a buffer along the Poland Range Road. Here we have the site inventory plan. So this plan is showing all the different features that we've found on the property. We've got the Brown Road over on this side, Poland Range Road over on this side. We've got the 240 farmhouse lot here. We've got the 220 house here, Old English barn here. You can see the green line here are forested areas. The areas in between, with most primarily up in this section. I think there's about 25 to 30 acres of field up in here. This kind of beigeish color here are wetland areas. There are 4 unnamed streams on the parcel. There's a significant vernal pool up in this area. Chandler Brook down around this area. The purple, maroon, magenta arrows here are different views, potential house sites, and how what you might be looking at depending on, where a house might sit and the different views you've got. There's a lighter color in here that's slopes in excess of 20%. So this was all done to form our site inventory and form a base understanding of what the design would go over. Then we moved on to our net residential density map. And so the map criteria, each lot is required to have 300 feet of frontage per lot. Each lot is required to have 90,000 square feet minimum of buildable area. The hatched area is the buildable area. You can see that does not include fingers of wetlands through here or steep slopes. So that has all been deducted. Road length, each road is a maximum of 600 feet. The two homes, the 240 and 220 homes, are situated on a lot. And going through that process, we come up with a lot yield of 22 lots allowed. We took that 22 lots and we moved on to our concept plan. Concept plan, we take the 240 Brown Road parcel and the 220 Brown Road parcel, which are right here, reconfigure those lot lines a little bit to work with the rest of what we're trying to do here. We make 240 a little bit smaller, and we make 220 a little bit larger. We have a great, very nice building site in the back here. We've divided that into two lots. They're larger lots. They'd be very good if somebody was interested in some sort of agricultural pursuit. Those two lots have frontage on the Brown Road, and they have a shared drive that goes weaves back to the parcels. There was a lot of discussion and thought that went into what's the right place for the development of the other 18 lots. Talk to real estate people, talk to conservation trust people, talk to agricultural people, and in the end, we felt that the land over here off the Poland Range Road was the best part to be developed, and this area here was the best part of the parcel to be preserved. So we have 18 lots back here. There are 9 lots on each one of these two spurs. Per the town requirements, we have 150-foot public road lot line setback and a 200-foot road setback. Our lots all adhere to that. There's a very decent wooded buffer along the Poland Range Road to help buffer these the part of the development. We're proposing one access drive in, so we're only cutting through that buffer in one place. Each one of these spur roads is a little bit over 1,000 square feet. This red circle right here is 1,000-foot radius from this beginning point of the road. As you can see, the little cul-de-sac on the end sticks over that 1,000-foot arc. All the proposed lots have access and they have open space around them. So every lot owner will have, you walk out your back door and you can walk into the open space. We've drawn in a couple, what would be kind of new trail connections, one right here and one down here, so that you can walk down the road, you can hop on this little trail and tie yourself into one of the existing trails that are out there around the, going through the open space. The lots average 1 acre in size. Smallest lots, 34,127 square feet, and the largest lots, 66,700 square feet. Cistern would be needed down here for fire protection. Each of these lots ends in a cul-de-sac. We know that that's something that needs to be approved by the road commissioner. Before the previous meeting, we did meet with the road commissioner and we walked around the site and we talked about that. We did not get the feeling that that was necessarily a problem. We don't have anything in writing, and I know he was not committing to us for any of that, but we're anticipating that we should be able to make these cul-de-sacs work with his needs. The open space, the green area here, no areas of the open space are under 50 feet wide. It is all contiguous. We're required to have 60% open space, which is 80.8 acres. We're actually proposing 96 acres, which is 71%. The open space contains majority of the wetlands, the vernal pool, the East Branch Chandler Brook, the 4 unnamed perennial streams, most of the trail system. So we tried to capture the sensitive environmental areas. Jim's been in discussion with the folks from the Royal River Conservation Trust, and he's very interested in them becoming the owners and stewards of the open space. And I think they're very interested in taking that land on as one of their conservation parcels as well. So we're excited about that. We did receive the memo from North Star Planning. They had a couple questions and comments in here. One of them was dimensional width, common open space, at least 50 feet. And as I said before, yes, it is all 50 feet. The open space have a note on any final plan that no further, no future building lots. And as I just said, the open space would be going to, we believe, going to Royal River Conservation Trust. So it would not be, it would be preserved in perpetuity for conservation purposes. The lots as shown do meet the, and building setbacks shown on those lots do meet the dimensional requirements of the zoning lot requirements. We do show a 75-foot buffer around the entire parcel. We would be after 2 waivers. The first waiver would be for for these 2 lots in this area to have frontage on Brown Road. Again, they would have a shared drive, so there would only be one access point to both those lots, but they would each have frontage on Brown Road over here. The other waiver we would request is for a road length over 1,000 feet, which allows us to get into these very nice buildable areas at the end of each of those roads. We were not thinking that we needed a waiver for the existing driveways for 240 and 220 Brown Road to keep their existing driveway. So we were not thinking that they needed a waiver, but I guess that's, you know, we'd be looking for the board's input on that as to whether we've interpreted the ordinance correctly on that. As I said before, we did talk to the fire chief, and we did talk about cisterns originally, and we know that that would be a requirement. So we would, that would be one of the things that we would be looking at as the next step. Looking at the review criteria in 908.A, we do believe that we do meet the 3 criteria: the arrangement of roads, lots, dwelling units, stormwater facilities, wastewater, and other utilities will be harmonious with the natural environment, will not harm the rural character and surrounding natural resources. We think this concept would do that. As a side note, I think I said in the application, but Jim would be looking to put agricultural and view easements on this 240 Brown Road parcel. So he would be preserving the view. People traveling along Brown Road looking in at the parcel would see that rural character. The next criteria, the conservation subdivision will minimize undue adverse effects on wetlands, vernal pools, stream corridors, significant wildlife habitat, scenic resources. We believe by putting that, most of that environmentally sensitive area in the open space, that we're achieving that of the, I think it's approximately 22 acres of wetland. We're impacting little over 1,100. So really one little piddly area right down here. And it's really kind of where the road needs to squeak through there. And we have, we have wetlands on this side. We've got some wetlands on this side. So it's a really tough spot. And we do go through a little wetland area. So we would be impacting some wetlands there. But again, that's a very small amount out of 22 acres on this 134 acre site. So we were feeling pretty good about being able to preserve the majority of that. Number 3, all buffers in the conservation subdivision will protect natural resources and adequately screen new homes from the public road. Open space will be permanently protected in a manner acceptable to the town. It will be contiguous to other open space within the larger parcel. Again, you can see how the green is all connected. It is all contiguous. These 2 lots and homes built back here are way off. Brown Road over here, this is well wooded along Poland Range Road with only one road connection. So we feel that these homes would be very well buffered as well. We have East Branch Chandler Brook down here, so no one's building in that area. And this area is all wooded as well. So we believe the development portion of this project is well hidden from most public view. As far as next steps, obviously we're looking for your folks' feedback on where we are to date. We'd like to schedule a site walk so you folks could get out and see the property for yourselves and get a feel for what we've done. We've tried to be as creative as we could with the parcel, but let you folks get a look at it and get your thoughts on how this plan reflects what you see out there. It's a large enough project that if it went forward as this concept proposes, it would need a DEP Site Location of Development Act permit, which is a very long permit to get. DEP is backed up with a lot of projects in the queue. So that is months and months out to get that. I would see that happening. That if we got the go-ahead for what we have here, that we potentially would coming to you folks with a application for preliminary approval. And once we had your feedback on that, then maybe submitting to the DEP. So make sure that we don't get the cart before the horse and submit anything to DEP before we knew pretty much where we were going town-wise. So those would be the steps that, at least that I'm thinking at this point. And that is the project in a nutshell.
Thank you for that. How many people wanted to make comments? Yeah, okay. Why don't we go ahead and do that? Like I said, just try and keep your comments brief. We are kind of on a schedule here. Your comments should be towards the board, not towards the applicant. We're interested in getting your thoughts. Come up, state your name, where you live, and 3 minutes. Yeah, 3 minutes. Let's try to keep it below 3 minutes. Okay. Oh, Yes, last piece, thank you. Are there any Durham residents here? No, not a problem then. Okay. So who would like to have the first crack? Yeah, Bill, go ahead.
It's working. They weren't working last time. I'll be really fast. What I don't get to read, I'll email to you. Pownell's ordinance and the comprehensive plan speak a lot about maintaining rural character, but it is inevitable that the woodlands and farmlands will continue to slowly be developed and erode the rural character. The conservation subdivision is an attempt to address that problem. Oh, that's right. Bill Schmidt, Poland Range Road. First problem is lot density. The conservation subdivision concept is good, but as we've seen, there are creative ways to calculate lot density that could have not been foreseen. In this case, we see lot densities taken from two different roads that are over half a mile apart. Most of those totals from those two roads were combined onto one of the two roads of the Poland Range Road. I doubt that the planning board nor the voters could have considered that scenario when the conservation subdivision was created. It does not follow with the spirit of or intentions of the conservation subdivision to double the number of houses on a road in this way. The issue should be corrected as we update the ordinances this year. Second problem, road status and safety. The proposed Stenson's Farm subdivision is a challenge because it is located halfway between Route 9 and Pownell and Route 136 from Freeport. As a main route from New Gloucester and Freeport, there is already a lot of traffic on the Poland Range Road. At the intersection of Route 136 and Freeport, taking a left onto Route 136 or taking a left onto the Poland Range Road has already led to some accidents, and that will only increase if we double the number of houses on the Poland Range Road. The section from the Libya Road to Route 9 has a lot of ledge and blind hills. Due to wetlands and no place to drain the water, the section from the Libya Road to the Freeport town line has a lot of mud, even though it has received countless loads of gravel over the years. Recommendations for lot density. The maximum 12 houses on the Poland Range Road and 12 more on the Brown Road is already a significant hit to rural character, with the largest subdivision ever in Pownell history. After taking wetlands into consideration, those numbers will be lower, but the deed and covenants will need to specify that no further development of the lots or the conserved land, such as ADUs, will be permitted. Recommendations for road status. Determine what is needed to improve the Poland Range Road to make it safer and less prone to being muddy during construction after the many more houses are added to the road. There will be more residents of Pownell using the intersection at 136 in Freeport than Freeport residents. We should meet again with the town attorney to see if there's any way we can consider road safety before issuing a road entrance permit. That's all. So,
Thank you, Bill.
Hi, Michael Bomser, 206 Poland Range Road. Thank you for this forum, times a week, giving us a chance to all speak. I believe that our municipality should be prepared with the full infrastructure required of any development before the development proposal can be considered viable. Maine's housing law encourages the type of density proposed by Mr. Cram for designated growth areas in order to boost housing supply, but defining it as areas with public water and sewer. I don't believe Pownell has any territory at all which could be classified as that, and therefore should only be considering projects which clearly match the area it intends to exist with. The municipality should also completely conclude that the area would sustain minimal impact. When large-scale proposals do arrive, I believe the town should have provisions requiring a landowner to prove financial security or backing for the required work. Mr. Cram is proposing an urban-level site work challenge of which the town of Pownell itself probably could not afford. So how can we all be assured that the applicant can? Should one landowner have the ability to double the population of our area, developing a separate neighborhood equal in unit count to the entire rest of our gravel road? How will the town stand by its existing residents of Poland Range Road to assure that our current standards will be protected before any actual damage is done? The Pownell Comprehensive Plan talks of controlled growth in order to uphold the tranquility that we all moved here for. I think this proposal is still more than twice what it should be, which looks and feels more like a major subdivision on 60 acres of land, with the landholder simply choosing to not use the other half of the property. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I'm David Hyde. I live on 96 Poland Range Road. And, appreciate Jim's ability to develop the land. I'm also somebody who's walks the road a lot, lives on the road, and I'm concerned about the amount of traffic that's going to come down through there because you're going to double, if there are two cars for every house, and I think there are 13, 20 some odd. So we're going to be increased level of traffic along that road. The road already has problems all year. The town crew can tell you about all the repairs they have to do on there. There, at my end of the road, there's some little clay pots that keep coming up every time of the year. So I'm concerned about that. One thing I don't understand in the plan was about why more wasn't pushed up toward the Stetson property up that way, and Brown Road, which has a paved road, which would be much easier to get off and on. And I don't know who recommended, who the realtors were. They recommended that they put all that down on the Poland Range Road because it seems like it's just as easy to put it up there, from what I can tell of the land. I haven't walked the land. I know Jim's been taking care of the land, but it still seems like the traffic flow on a paved road would be a lot more logical than increasing the traffic is going to come down my road. And then I think about all I don't know how long this is going to take, but I would guess it's probably a 2 to 3 year process of building the land, getting the land ready, putting the houses in. So there are all the trucks that are going to be going down through the road, the tearing up of the property to take land out, take land in, put the building materials in. It's going to be a wear and tear in the process and increase the traffic on my end of the road. And I live on the quieter end of the road, but still the traffic has increased dramatically. And so I'm not saying by any means Jim shouldn't do what he needs to do, but it's going to impact our lives pretty dramatically and increase the cost of the town maintaining the road. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Dan St. Denis, 212 Poland Range Road. So I'm directly across from the development or proposed development.
Excuse me for one sec. Do you want to just pull up the plan on the? Sorry about that. Go ahead.
No, I appreciate that because I was going to point to something. So again, we talked about waivers being mentioned, right? So I believe when we had the meeting in April or May, when the first proposal was brought, I remember this woman here actually said specifically about the length of the road, right? 1,000 feet. We picked 1,000 feet for a reason. So with this being the first subdivision of this type, right, in our town, I'm just very cautious, and I know the board is probably very cautious about setting a precedent, granting waivers. Obviously, this has been very closely watched, not just by people within the community, but also outside the community. So I just want to urge the board to do their due diligence, right? Waivers are waivers. Setting a precedent obviously has a ripple effect for future subdivisions of this type because, as we all know, this isn't going to be the last one by any means. As the gentleman before me mentioned, right, you got 18 lots on the Poland Range Road side, 2 mile length road from Freeport Town Line to Route 9. I think there's roughly 25 houses, 25 residences. You're taking a 2,000 foot stretch of road for frontage and you're putting 18 houses. That's very significant versus splitting it and doing some on the Brown Road, some on the Poland Range Road. As that other gentleman mentioned, I'd love to talk to the realtors. Who would want to live on a dirt road versus a paved road, right? But there may be some rhyme and reason behind that. But I appreciate the time. Thank you for what you all do, because I know that this is kind of a thankless job. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Bob Humphrey. I live on 727 Poland Range Road, so I'm a little bit distant from the site. The voters of this town, or the residents of this town, voted about how they wanted to see development proceed. In a perfect world, or at least my version of it, we wouldn't have any more, but that's not reality. It's inevitable. The people in this town have spoken. It then is up to you folks, the onerous burden of deciding
what's appropriate according to what we voted on. When you do that, I would ask you to please give serious consideration to the work that Jim and Ann have done. They put a lot of effort and energy into considering the conservation value of this property and protecting the most important resources. And possibly that's why they've moved all the development to one side, one road, as opposed to some on one and some on the other. If you have a chance, or when you have a chance to walk this property, you'll see that this is really a beautiful piece of property. It's been extremely well maintained. So please take that into consideration. Thank you.
I'd like to speak, I'm not a resident, so I just want to make sure.
Where are you from?
Royal River Conservation Trust.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I move that we let a representative from the Royal River Conservation Trust speak. All in favor?
Chris Franklin, Executive Director at the Royal River Conservation Trust. I'm not here to speak to the ordinance specifically. That's your job. But I was contacted by Jim last spring asking if we might be interested if he did a development in holding the open space, and that began a conversation over the past many months, walking the property, looking at different options. Because the easiest thing for him to do is to cut this in 4 pieces and just sell big lots and be done. And I think the conservation subdivision was created because if development is done, getting some public benefit out of that is one of the goals. And this brings 90 acres of what will be publicly available open space with meadows, with trails, protection of the waterfront, and it will be open to the community and free to the community to use. I know from attending Conservation Commission meetings and Select Board meetings and some of these meetings that that's, access to and protection of open space is very important to this town, and the ordinance is what the ordinance is, and that's your job to decide, whether this meets the criteria or not. But from my personal experience of walking the property and talking to Jim and Ann about options, being able to preserve that 90 acres and making those trails available to the public for free forever, and the habitat that's there, it's not, that there are other ways they can do this, and they've chosen to maximize the open space and going above and beyond what is being asked of them in the ordinance to protect 60%. They're upping that by at least 10 acres. So we've worked with the town of Pownell. We're happy to be the holder of that open space and to do the management plans and what's required under the ordinance to make sure that these lands are available and open to the public. So, just wanted to share that, we are welcoming the opportunity to do this if that's the direction that the town wants to go. But it's a spectacular property with meadows and trails. It would be great for families, for biking, for cross-country skiing, for picnicking. You could fly kites there. I mean, it's a really special property. So we'd be proud to be able to protect that land. But again, just wanted to share that we've been in conversation with the family, that they've taken the open space, the quality of the open space, very seriously from the first moments we met. So that's all I have to share.
I'm going to take an opportunity.
Sure. Absolutely.
Obviously, you might, I would love for you guys to take over any open space for sure.
Yep.
As you've heard people commenting on where the side of the land that the development is in relation to Poland Range Road, as somebody none of us have walked the property from a land conservation point of view, somebody who's walked the property with that mindset, what is the more valuable piece of property or portion of this property from your perspective?
It would be what's illustrated here. I mean, when we walk the property, I told Jim that, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't tell you I want to protect this whole property, and we would have loved to have protected the whole thing, but the cost of doing that, and would have been beyond our reach, I think. And, you know, and initially, you know, there were developments on the Brown Road and, you know, they could split this up and do that, but then you sort of end up with this donut hole in the middle that's surrounded by houses, as opposed to this, you know, it's not just contiguous open space, but it's sort of intact open space that's large enough and diverse enough that it's really going to serve habitat and recreation much better.
What if you say, for example, and I'm not telling these guys
Yeah.
how to design their property, but just hypothetically, what if you flip that so that it's on the Brown Road? Is that, if that were the case, would you still see that? Is that quality of the property not as good from a conservation standpoint?
I would say this is the preferred just because of some of the natural features that are there and the way that it sits against the east branch of the Chandler. Anytime we have a feeder to the Royal River, that's a high priority for us, so preserving that. The Old English Barn is an ideal sort of landing spot. It has a parking lot. We're thinking about repurposing the barn into some, not visitor center, but some shelter that would be at the property for people to meet at or to use. These could easily become ADA trails because they're flat and really well groomed. The other side of the property doesn't really have, you know, we can build new trails, but to the extent, you know, when you get into that, it's adding, you know, lots of money to improve new trails to this standard. So I think for a lot of reasons, you know, that this is preferred alternative. That Brown Road, people are going a lot faster, pulling in and out of there is not easy. In the times that I've been out there, you know, sort of it's a downhill, narrow road. So I don't know if that's a consideration for you as well, but
I appreciate
Yeah.
that. Sure, thank you.
thank you.
I'm Russell Schmidt, 36 Poland Range Road, and thank you guys for, it's a lot of hard work. I can't even imagine it. I was on the board for a while and like, we didn't have anything big like this, so. I did want to bring up, it sounds like now a good portion of the property will be under, Royal River, and that's all really great, but it also, that almost makes it sound like it's become a mecca now for more travel. So not only are we going to have residents, 20 new residents, but we'll have quite a bit of traffic coming in on the Poland Range Road, if that's where you guys.
Access would be off.
So it would be off the Brown Road. So even though you said that the traffic was a little worse on the Brown Road, you'd probably put the access on the Brown Road.
Yeah, I mean, I think the further down the hill you get, the better.
Sure, yeah. I just wanted to note that it's a lot of more traffic floating around than just what it is. And also, you guys have to understand when you build one house, if you guys remember, if you had anything going on, the trucks, the travel, the dump trucks, the amount of gravel that's going to have to come to this site, the amount of roads, cement trucks, it's going to be crazy for the first 5 or 6 years. So just everybody needs to expect that too. So thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Susan Pye. I live at 291 Libby Road. I own the property on Libby Road and I also own a large lot on Pownell Range Road across from the Cram property. I do appreciate all the thought that is put in, but I do worry about the roads because those of us that live on dirt roads, most of us live there for a reason. I think there are 4 horse owners here who I know ride the roads, including myself. So I just would be wondering what the plan is for potential pavement of roads, especially with the property this size. And I don't know if the town has thought about that. So that's one of the concerns that I have.
Like also to be allowed to speak. My name is Terry Dewan. And with Royal River Conservation Trust, I live in New Gloucester.
Okay. I move, do you have more to add that wasn't added already?
A little bit, yes.
Okay, if you can make it brief, that would be
I'll
ideal.
do my best.
I move that we let a representative from the Royal River Trust speak at the meeting tonight. All in favor? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. I wear a number of hats. I'm on the board of directors, I'm on the stewardship committee and the land transfer committee for Rail River Conservation Trust. I'm also the land steward for the Pisgah Hill Preserve, which you may be aware of. I'm also a semi-retired landscape architect. I've been in Maine working in this field for over 50 years, and it's always a pleasure to watch another qualified licensed landscape architect go about doing this process. As a professional, I've probably designed maybe 40 or 50 other subdivisions, not like this. This is sort of a new thing in the world of subdivisions, conservation subdivisions. We actually did the first one in Freeport using their new subdivision ordinance that deal with conservation subdivisions. So I appreciate the work that Peter has done. And when you do a conservation subdivision, the first thing you do is to identify what are the primary conservation resources. And they've done that. These are the wetlands, the streams, Chandler Brook, and so forth. They also identify what we call the secondary conservation areas. And this gets to what Chris was talking about. Now, the area along Brown Road, the interior of the site. These are wonderful areas. They're old agricultural fields from Brown Road. They're beautiful views out towards the field. The edges along the woodland are really very special places, rather unusual to this type of environment. And that, to me, as Chris was saying, is really the incentive for Royal River Conservation Trust to be involved and excited about this project because of the quality of the land and also the care that Jim has taken in maintaining the land and building trails and doing selective clearing, just making sure this really looks like a place that wants to be open space. I've had situations in the past where I've walked land and I say to myself, oh, this does not cry out and want to be a subdivision. And we have a property that RRCT has on Bayview Street that I had actually done a subdivision plan on years ago. Well, fortunately, the town decided to buy the land, and instead of a subdivision, it's now a park leading down to the water. Very similar to this. It's a conservation incentive to do this. I must admit that this is the start of a process. There's a lot of things that will certainly have to come about as we go through this and dealing with the open space. You know, who's going to maintain it? What are the restrictions on using the land? Where's the parking going to be? How big is the parking going to be? What about the barn? And on and on and on. What about the phasing? How does the phasing of the open space work into the development of the rest of the property? Those are all really creative and really exciting opportunities to talk about as a community, knowing that this 90+ acres of land is going to be a resource for the entire community to enjoy. It's interesting to know that the town's conservation subdivision ordinance requires a minimum of 60% of the land set aside as open space. They're talking about more than that, 71%, I believe. The average in this general area is about 50%. So we're really well above what a typical town looks for in terms of preserved open space. I know there's a lot of other issues that we've heard about tonight, but from our perspective as a piece of conservation land, looking at habitat, looking at scenic vistas, looking at recreational opportunities, this is a wonderful opportunity, and we certainly support it. Glad to answer any questions, or thank you very much.
Yeah, another minute.
I said, quick question, exactly. One thing I don't really, not that knowledgeable about, is the number of units proposed for this. Where did that number come from? And is it based on the space there? Could we have fewer houses there, which in my sense would be less traffic? And still.
I'm gonna interrupt you for a sec. You had an opportunity. We are going to go over all of that stuff. If you guys hang out for a couple minutes, you'll actually see the nuts and bolts of how this process works. But we gotta move along. So unless anybody has anything else new to add.
Kate Day, 143 Poland Range Road. I live next to, I'm an abutting neighbor to Stetson Farm Project. There is a section of the dirt road that there's a blind hill just before the brook where there have been accidents in the past. And then there's a section right after that that is barely 2 lanes. And so all of this would be, and that's probably up to the state road department to look into, but the dirt road really I don't think can sustain extra traffic. I would think there would have to be some sort of traffic study done. Traffic on that road is already pretty bad. And the people all along Poland Range Road from the Freeport end all the way through a few roads that come in off the Freeport end and Poland Range Road, all the neighbors use the road every day to walk. All through COVID, everybody was walking on that road. People walk their dogs before and after work during the day. People exercise along there. People come and park on the road so they can walk their dogs there. It just, I would have to say, what is the future plan for, I don't think this is sustainable for the traffic, for the fact that it's a dirt road and not paved. I don't think that the development in any way is going to pay for affordability of paving that road. And I would also agree that I think for the first conservation subdivision, there ought not to be any waivers. I don't think that sets a good precedent. So I'm speaking as a resident of Poland Range Road. I'm also on the select board, but these are my opinions as a resident. Thank you.
I think I saw one more. Yep. I think we'll make this the last one.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, board, everybody, Mr. Cram. Thank you. My name is Chris Lombard. I live on 58 Poland Range Road. And I'm a lifelong Mainer, grew up in Parsonsfield. Anybody's heard of that town? And, you know, I really sat with this, and since I heard about the proposal and really thought about what I would say, you know, if we had a chance to speak up here and everything, because change, you know, time and everything is bringing about all the change, not just here, but in all of Maine. In all of Maine, we live in an amazing, beautiful state that I think is so wonderfully unique. And I love that people love Maine. I love that people love Maine, and I love being welcoming. And I always feel like that when I feel worried about something or I feel challenged by something, the answer is always the same. It's always getting back to an open heart, you know, because who is one person to know, you know, that what change can bring and everything else. But what I come back to, I guess what I'd like to say about Poland Range Road is, you know, I walk the road a lot. I jog the road. I've grown to love that road in the 11, 12 years that I've been associated with it and the 6 years that I've been living on it. And what I feel there is it represents something, and it's when I talk to people about where I live and I describe it, and I say, when you're on Poland Range Road, you could be anywhere in Maine. You know, it's like that classic feeling of being in Maine. The smell of the wood fires, the sound of the gravel under your car wheels. The people all wave to each other. On Poland Range Road, the people all wave to each other when you see them. And then you just get on 136 Route 9 and that kind of goes away. You know, you wave, you're like, oh, I guess, yeah, all right. I guess that's just Poland. It's on. What I guess I'd want to say to everybody is that I don't know what we should do. But I feel like there's always something when you come from your heart. The heart serves all. The heart serves all. It doesn't just look out for one person's interests. When you get in touch with your heart and you're open-hearted, the heart can't help but include everybody in a decision that can work out for all. And I feel like there's something here that can be found there like that. Because what I feel on Poland Range Road is Maine. And there's a way to keep that while we grow and expand and while we welcome new people and have new homes being built. There's a way to keep that. There really is. And I think we all know what that is. I do. And it's just kind of finding that way of being in that place where we're all looking after each other in what we're doing. So thank you for that. Thanks for hearing these words. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for all the comments. I really wanted to do that first, even though it did take a little bit of time, because I think as we move into the next portion, hearing from the folks that live in the area, that does have an impact about how we think about things. So I do appreciate the comments.
It should be noted also that Bowling Range Road for 2 months every year is a posted load limited road. So it could really cut into that delays.
Yep.
Thank you.
So, where I think I want to start is, I've given everybody a couple of tasks on the project. So I just wanted to walk through those really quickly. And I think we'll start with the most important part. Actually, I'm going to back up for a sec. Marcia, have we heard back from the road commissioner yet?
I sent notes to the road commissioner and fire chief and have not heard back.
Okay. So just so everybody knows, we are obviously concerned about the fact that this is going on a dirt road. And does that make a whole lot of sense? So we have a road commissioner here in the town, and we have asked him to give us advice on what he thinks about the impact of something like this on the road, but we have not heard back from him. We are not road commissioners, so we can't make a call specifically about the impact of a development on a road, but we certainly will take into consideration that this is not a paved road. Jesse, can I call on you for a sec from a safety fire chief standpoint? You got a thought on this project on the Poland Range?
I did receive the email from Marcia. I have not had time to really review the project and get an answer back to the questions that you sent me,
Okay,
but I will the next week.
okay. We appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Good.
Yep, we're good.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
So I think perhaps my inquiry to the road commissioner wasn't specific enough, because one thing I don't understand aside from road safety is if a decision even got made to pave a road, or how that happens and who decides. So that's sort of another whole layer of, if the road's not sufficient, how could it be made sufficient?
Well, right. And that's really the question. If the road isn't sufficient for this project, then should the project be allowed to happen on the road?
Right, right.
And I think that's where the road commissioner would come in.
All right, thanks.
That's my thought. I'd like to hear what he has to say. Brian, you want to go over the lot density piece?
Sure. You guys mind putting up the other density map?
I think this is it. Oh, no, I missed it.
Yeah.
This one. Oh.
Yeah.
You want to bring it up?
I think it's the one right there.
So I think in general, this looks much better than last time, right? Kind of following the 300 feet
Yeah.
since the road is crossed. And we haven't really validated this, but it looks like you have factored in wetlands, steep slopes, and unbuildable areas. So the square footage on here is the square footage of each overall proposed lot, right? And then it doesn't have a sub number for the 90,000, but we're going on
Right.
trusting that you've
Yes.
analyzed that.
Right,
The
right.
net is 90.
Yeah, the hatched mark is everything that's included in the 90.
Okay. And there is 90,000.
Yes.
each and every one.
Yes.
I think the easier thing is to start on the Brown Road side. I think from the bottom left up, I mean, these all look reasonable, right? You're factoring out, you've got the 600 feet, you've got the road frontage, you've got the square footage. There are some big wetlands in there. We need to factor in the setbacks of the house, 200 feet of frontage along the front line. But I think, you could easily put a driveway into any of these and have a house that meets all the setback requirements. That second road from the bottom, going over some wetlands, but again, I think it's allowed to cover some percentage of wetlands. So theoretically, I think that road could be put in if this were the actual plan. I think the one question on this side is that upper left corner. This doesn't seem to factor in the vernal pool buffer that was on the other maps. Like, it comes down, kind of from that upper middle property line across the road. So, I would question whether you could actually build a house on that lot, just given the setback from the vernal pool is 250 feet. So I think that's something to look into, whether that can really count as a lot. And then secondarily, if that buffer line comes across that proposed road, can you put that road in there? Which would be inside the setback.
Can I?
Go back to the other map.
Yeah. Yep. Right, so we've got the vernal pool.
I mean, basically coming across that whole wetland sticking out.
Yeah.
So it's coming out where this road is, it looks like, and again, just approximating, but.
Right, so we'd have to get into, so the vernal pool, right, you can have an incursion of up to a certain percentage within that vernal pool window per state regulations. So we would have to look at that and see whether that, exactly where that line is and how much of an incursion that was. But state-wise, at least you are allowed to have a certain percentage of 25% incursion into that vernal pool buffer.
Even for a structure?
Yes. That's my understanding. But we'd have to see exactly where that buffer line is.
But I think that's one of the factors that have to play into this, and the setbacks and requirements of that. So I think that those two lots, definitely that front left lot would be questionable. If the road can or can't go in because of the vernal pools, then that might knock out the second one as well. And then on the Brown Road side, I know we talked about this. Tim brought this up a few meetings ago in terms of using frontage from existing lots. So again, doesn't come up, I think, in front of the board at all. And I don't know if Natasha, you have any experience with this. But I guess one thing I would question is whether we'd want to make the assumption that those lots could be effectively dissolved to create these proposed lots when these existing lots are ultimately going to remain after the fact. Right. And then, again, it's not probably need to go a little bit deeper, but it does look like, if you do start combining contiguous lots, they generally have to be held by the same owner. And based on the maps, it looks like you've got 3 owners here. You've got an individual on the primary lot and then 2 LLCs for each of the quote donor lots.
Right. Well, all held by Jim. So he is the owner. So if you had to jump through hoops or whatever, he could sell them to himself or get them all in one entity. He is the sole owner of those of all those entities. And I guess the other thing I would add to that is being the sole owner, he is combining those 3 parcels, and then the end result, manipulating some of the existing 2 lots do not end up, exactly as they are today. So it's not just like plugging those in, like putting those in. Yeah, one of them's getting quite a bit larger, the other one hair smaller. So making those, breaking those out to work with within the whole subdivision development.
And I don't think our ordinance addresses it specifically, but it looks like in the state, there are towns where if you combine lots, you're restricted from future division rights. So I don't know if that's like a state mandate or that's more local, but that's not something I've seen in our ordinance.
I haven't seen anything. Tim?
I don't think we address combining lots in our ordinance.
Like combining and then.
Right, so if you do combine, that you can't then.
Oh, well, you mean trigger subdivision. So you would trigger, potentially, if you combined them all into one, and then you wanted to separate them again, you could be triggering subdivision. But since we're already a subdivision, it makes no difference to us.
Well, no, what I'm saying is, I think, to me, it looks like some towns, when you do combine lots, you waive all future rights to further subdivide again. So you're saying you've chosen to take 3 lots, combine them into one. You can't now subdivide that again. Again, I don't think our town addresses that, or if you have any thoughts on that, Natasha.
Thank you, Natasha Gipfer, Senior Planner with North Star Planning. I would need to look a little bit more at the town's ordinances, but in other communities in Maine, there has been case law or precedents of creating of a subdivision and then vacating those lot lines. But as you also mentioned, and is in the details for the requirements at the preliminary plan stage, there would be a presentation of the covenants for the subdivision. So this might be something the applicant could speak to if they're going to be adding to the subdivision covenants that no further subdivision happen on the premises.
Yeah, I mean, that's secondary, right? Which I think we've kind of addressed, that there wouldn't be any future subdivision, especially the conserved land. I guess it's just something that we as a board need to consider, is whether we want to go through that theoretical process of, combining these into one lot to only have them to get more lots and then really reverting back to what was already there. Because a not insignificant portion is picked up from those existing lots.
That's a good point. I was kind of thinking that as well. I guess, what I was thinking is that I was looking at it more like everything was being combined into one and then counted, and then it's gonna be separated back out. And I don't know if that's the correct way to analyze that problem, because technically it's not being combined into one.
Right.
And technically those lots are still there with some minor modifications. But it made sense for them to say that it's part of it because they get
Strictly for this purpose to get 2 more roads.
yeah, 2 or 3 additional lots.
Okay.
Yeah, 6 that they wouldn't have been able to get otherwise.
Right.
So is the question really, is this 1 lot or is it 3 lots?
Yeah, and can you use that frontage from those 2 pre-existing lots for purposes of?
That's a really good point.
Well, wouldn't this be like any developer that puts together a number of parcels of land for a developer? I mean, Jim just happens to own all 3, but
So
there are plenty of.
we're talking as a
Oh.
board right now.
Yep, sorry.
And so if we need to ask you a question, so
Okay.
this is that portion of it. I don't mean to be rude, but
Yep. Oh,
been a long day.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is a scenario that I brought to the board a few meetings back. And I didn't exactly draw it out this way, but I played the scenario in front of them. And everybody at that time thought it was okay. So that's what they based that on.
Yep.
So I'm just gonna throw that out there. So.
No, I know, that's why I referenced it. I mean, I think we discussed it and I don't know, we definitely came out one way or the other. I mean, I think it was more of a brainstorming session, but I mean.
Right, but might be different now that you see the effects.
Right.
Brian, can I ask a question just because I don't have my appendix? 2 of these roads look like they're 300 feet apart down at the bottom of the Brown Road. Is that okay in the concept stage of this? Those 2 they're not bottom, those 2 most easterly roads, rather than being, what's the design standard on spacing? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, the 750 was in the conservation.
So we don't apply the 750, okay. Tight design.
So I guess the first question to answer would be, are we okay with counting this as 1 lot, essentially? for lot density purposes.
Can you clarify that question? Are we, which one lot? Yeah.
The whole lot.
Oh, okay, the whole lot. Okay.
Are we, because we're basically looking at this piece of property as one lot, when in reality, it's three separate. And so should the lot density be tied to the one lot, because they're retaining the other two lots, or are we okay with this lot density calculation?
I think the other thing you need to decide is, without doing a site walk for a minor subdivision, you don't see the slopes, you don't see the site distances and things like that. So the other thing is you're just allowing to draw on a map, a flat piece of paper, what you could do on that property when you're not looking at it out in the field.
I mean, part of the lot density calculation is it's one piece of the process, but it's also like the idea is to not be overly onerous with it, I think was our intention. The idea to get an estimate and a good faith effort by the applicant that can defend what they're doing, but not necessarily nitpick every lot line in this part of the process. It was my understanding of the development of it. And so I would say it is an interesting discussion of, okay, if somebody owns 3 parcels of land and then, they have one owner and so they're presenting it as one parcel, do we allow it or not? I think that's an interesting topic to discuss. And I unfortunately wasn't at that meeting that Tim kind of presented a similar scenario, and my conversations with him, he walked away from that with the impression that this type of plan was okay to present, and that's why the applicant is bringing forward this thing. So I don't know. It is if we kind of gave guidance that this type of plan was okay to the planning director, and then we're getting this type of plan back, we can say, no, this isn't what we want. But I do feel that they're trying to make good faith effort, at least in this process. And I guess it's up to us to decide if we think this is aligned with what we are imagining or not.
I'd just like to say for the record, I think we're trying to figure out what the ordinance says and how that applies to this situation.
I also want to say that this is a cap, the lot density. It doesn't mean we are approving that number of lots. It's just the most that could be possibly proposed. And that's a different question. And I think that's it.
Yeah, I agree with you, Orion, in the sense that it shouldn't be nitpicky. It's to get a basic sense of how many lots. But I do think we need to make a decision about whether or not we feel, I know Tim has brought this up in the hypothetical, but now we're in the real world. And I feel that, talking hypothetical, talking real world, not really looking at the ordinance, that may be a different animal. So I certainly apologize to the applicant and to Tim if we may have led them astray. And I'm not saying we're disagreeing with it, but I think it's very relevant to have this conversation about exactly what's happening here and how this calculation was made. So I do feel, because we are setting precedent, because this is number one, we should, as a board, make a decision if we feel that this is an appropriate call, because this is no longer a hypothetical. And it's now like, this is for real this time. I'm not sure, Natasha. Do you have thoughts on this? So we're debating whether, even though the lot is under one single ownership, it is actually 3 separate lots. And we're trying to come up with the lot density calculation. I'm not sure the best way to proceed from here. Does the board take a vote about whether we think that this is a mobile way to calculate lot density?
Thank you. I think I misunderstood. Sorry, I don't know your name yet.
Right.
Your question, I was getting too far down the road, but from our standpoint, in the memo that we wrote, on the bottom of page 2, we speak specifically about this performance standard of lot density. And so the 3 existing parcels proposed to be subdivided from our standpoint, that would be permissible. And the lot density map that is shown within the packet is, like we've been discussing, an exercise in being able to calculate what that eventual yield will be. And so from our perspective, that is permissible according to the standards.
Well, to the standards, and I guess to specific to Maine law and what you can actually do. I mean, you could go through these steps and you could get to this if you wanted to, if this is actually what you're building, meaning combining, taking the donor lot, adding those 2 sublots to it, and then recarving it up this way.
From what has been presented, yes.
So I just like to bring up what is actually said in the ordinance. So under lot density, the applicant shall submit the lot density map to show, and it's just A, the number of lots that could be built using density and frontage requirements applicable to the minor subdivision pursuant to section 908C2. So I think the key words there are using frontage requirements, density and frontage requirements. Doesn't really say anything more to it.
Okay. So I think we can all agree that the number of homes based on the lot density map is appropriately calculated.
I guess except for Brian's question about the vernal pool.
Right. Except for Brian's question about the vernal pool. And getting to that, if we go to can you pull up the existing features map, please? So there's in that upper left corner, there's a blue dotted line. I'm under the impression that that is the setback from wetlands, or am I interpreting that? Is that something else that kind of cuts off that corner in a half circle?
That's the vernal pool setback.
So if we just do the on the fly view of that lot, go back to the lot density map. So if we just kind of eyeball where that dotted line was, it seems like it would cover a large portion of that. And so does that portion is everything in that circle considered unbuildable?
No, I don't think so. I think you're potentially eligible to have a 25% incursion into that setback.
So that would take a DEP permit, a DEP approval as well.
No, not necessarily. I mean, you're not disturbing a wetland, it's an incursion into a buffer. So I do not believe that would,
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention, because you will ultimately probably be going through a SLOD permit, that 2 vernal pool visits are necessary to outline a vernal pool, and was only one made in the midpoint between the 2 breedings. So you may have to ultimately revisit that at some point.
I think minimally that should just get clarified. I mean, it seems like there's a little question mark and an asterisk there. I mean, not only is it the vernal pool, there's a lot of wetlands there, so you'd be put in a driveway, a house to get across the wetlands, you'd be within that buffer, and there could be, to Tim's point, DEP issues, so.
I'm not opposed to Brian's point that he raised that this might not be a buildable lot and that we shouldn't count it. If we determine that, like, so my question, a process question, since this is kind of both parties taking on good faith effort to calculate lot density, can we just say we don't think that's a buildable lot and we're restricting you down to 21, or do we engage in more data collection about that lot specifically?
I'm thinking that maybe we knock it down to 21. Just from the kind of the eyeball test. But I think we have to be open if that. And Natasha may be looking into that a little bit. Why don't we just consider that it may be 21 or 22, and we'll revisit that, because that might just be a minor change to the overall plan if it's just one lot. So we'll put a little asterisk in that. I think Paul, we kind of had the comments tonight were very similar to the from May. Was there anything specific that wasn't mentioned tonight that was mentioned?
I was looking through the comments that were presented in May, and they have all kind of paralleled what was said tonight in regards to the concern about the road usage, the construction that will be going on when they do create this subdivision. One of the things that came up that was different was the concern on Libby Road and Pullen Range Road, the turn going down over the bridge was brought up as a concern. That wasn't in the earlier meeting. And the potential that it could become no longer a dirt road, but a paved road, and how that would go about being done. Brought up. One thing that was not mentioned that was previously discussed was the impact on community resources regarding like schooling, for example. With the 21 lots, if we went with that, and it's 1.8, this is just the standard formula, 1.8. We're looking at an increase of almost 38 children in the school system. And they presently have approximately at Pownell Elementary, I believe 89 students. Just over 100 now. Okay, because I'm going on last 2 years ago data. So. Okay. Okay, so that would be a concerning impact too, how the finance or pay for that as well. But that's in general the comments that were made from last meeting and tonight's.
I have a question about that.
Mhm.
This is likely built in phases. And then we will potentially be seeing impacts on schools in phases, and we don't know what the student count will be in the future. Is like the impact on the schools something that could be factored into approval of different phases, or is it just moving forward with the project at all?
I mean, it's going to occur in phases, obviously, because it's not just like, boom, you have this surplus of children. But, I don't know, then you'd have to calculate how what would that look like in terms of the phases? What numbers are you projecting?
I think it's regardless of how quickly it happens, that's a significant increase in the tiny school population over whether it's over a year or 2 or 5. If you're increasing the size of the school by almost 50%,
yeah,
that's significant, and it might be worthwhile to at some point talk to the RSU as we move a little further along.
Especially since we just brought up tonight the increase that they've had, which we're the only school that's increased.
And plus, we're only one of 3 3 other towns. So, I mean, you could take 100 kids and you divide it by 12 grades and get an estimate of each grade. But with a school as small as Powell Elementary, even 3 kids in a grade is a big increase. And then there would be a big adjustment throughout all the different grades if the other towns are also increasing. So it's a problem that's bigger than us, but we still have to consider Pownell's.
Yeah, it's definitely has a greater impact on Pownell because of the area and the population. And I mean, as far as the RSU is concerned, it would be the biggest hit here.
Just like to get us back on focus, because that's really not the problem or the charge of the planning board to figure that out.
Yeah.
Working
It's-
with the ordinance.
Yeah, thank you. But it is a part of the ordinance is the impact of the project on the town. So I think it's worth mentioning, but I agree with Tim, we do have to move along. I think that, to me, and anybody can help me out on this, but right now, the biggest concern about this plan is, as far as I'm concerned, and obviously a lot of the town is concerned about, is the location of the entrance on the Poland Range Road. And my rough Google estimates is, without the help of the road commissioner, that this might be adding somewhere between 100 and 200 plus road trips per day, which would be a significant number, not only impacting the neighbors of the subdivision on the road, but more importantly, probably the road itself. So I think the applicant needs to really speak to how this traffic that they're going to impose on the road is going to be mitigated. I get the sense from the town that it's that it's not really in their interest to pave the road. So how, assuming that this is going to remain a dirt road, how do you manage to mitigate the additional damage or traffic or wear and tear that this development is going to have on the road? Is there any, do you guys have an answer or a comment? Because from the meeting last May, it was really clear that there was a concern about the road.
Yeah, so we did take a visit out there with the road commissioner, so I wish we had his comments or thoughts, but we don't. I mean, I know, construction wise, when the road's posted, we won't be using it. Use, whatever best management practices we can use to minimize damage or impact to that road as projects being built out. It would be built out in phases. I mean, it won't be, every house won't be under construction at once. It will be phased in there. One road will be built and houses along that road built. When that's done, the other road will be built and houses along that road built. So it will be, a process. It won't all be happening at once. We haven't done any, road testing as to what's there on the existing road. I know what the road commissioner was saying. He's down there often with his grader and gravel. So we do know that. We haven't, as I said, done any road testing to that to know what, what that road is made of. Just what's the depth of gravel, what's the, what's in there or drainage wise, but,
what does the planning board think, as far as, impacts that a subdivision might have on the town? To me, this seems like it might be a significant impact. Are there any thoughts on that aspect? Strictly speaking, 18 houses or 20 houses, whatever that number is, coming out onto the Poland Range Road. Do we have any concerns about that?
I mean, I think people have commented, and it seems common sense that yes, adding 22 houses definitely will have an impact. But part of it is hearing from the school district about what in the schools about what they think the impact would be, hearing from the road commissioner about what he thinks the impact will be, hearing from potentially asking for a traffic study and putting that into consideration with what is the state and quality of the road. So I think it is, we can, it's clear there will definitely be an impact, but what the exact scope of that impact is, it would be good to get expert opinion and more data to make an informed decision.
The reason I bring that up now, as I'd mentioned to the folks from Royal River, is while I snapped at Peter earlier, I apologize about that. We do, our job is partly to help in a collaborative sense in the design, because we have the town's best interest as well as the ordinances. And the developer has their interest. Is it reasonable that this entrance is on the Poland Range Road? And what do you guys, is it impossible for you to get your houses if you put it on the Brown Road?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because this is, and the reason I ask is because this is this is a significant, it appears to be a significant hangup. And it becomes far more complicated with the entrance on the Poland Range Road. For lots of different, as you guys have heard from Pownell residents.
Right, and I hear you, and, I think I'd start with, well, you all know that I've been walking the land for 75 years, so, when we looked at the property, I've had two realtors walk the property, and they're unanimous in their agreement that the most valuable real estate is on the Brown Road. That's where the open fields are, that's where the views are, that's where the brook is, that's where the resources are. And that's the part of the property that I love the best, and that's the part of the property I'd like to see preserved. That's one reason, so that's the counterintuitive part about, back in the 80s, I took a course from a guy, Robert Lemire, who wrote a book about, conservation ordinances like this. And his philosophy was you preserve what needs to be preserved, and you build what needs to be built, but you build it, on the edges of these fields, not in the middle of them. And that's the reason when 240 came up for sale 10 years ago, I bought it instantly, because any builder could have come along, has 600 feet of frontage, cut it in half and put, I don't care what kind of, it could have been a very pretty house right in the center of the view that the public shares going up and down the Brown Road that looks into the open space. So that's why when I sold the property on the Durham side of the road, I put a restriction, a 200-foot, just like you guys have done, restriction that they can't put anything but a 200 square foot vegetable stand, run in for horses or, animals, that sort of thing. So, so that's one reason, is that just, it's the best land, and that's the land that should be preserved. And then the second thing is just the way the topography, we've spent a lot of time, we're looking at the ravines, where the brook flows, what flows to the brook. We're doing this, 1,100 square feet of wetlands is all we're disturbing. And if you do this from the Brown Road, number one, you destroy the best land. And number two, you've got to cross these ravines. And it would be 100 times as much, more than 100 times. 1,000, you said there were 20, we're allowed, I don't know the numbers, but it's an enormous change when you start building roads through wetlands to get it out on the Brown Road. So I remember when the Brown Road wasn't paved. So yeah, I can't, that's why it's on the Poland Range Road, because that's what's best suited for putting houses in. And it's pretty fortunate that we've got these two ridges of land, that the land slopes away on both sides, that people will not, everybody's got a private view into the open space. If we put them in the middle of the fields, they'd all be looking at each other, and we'd all be looking at them.
If you go back to your original plan, you didn't seem to have too much of an issue putting 12 houses.
And we would have made a hell of a lot more money by doing that, right? And that's not the path we chose to take.
Well, yeah, no,
right.
I get that.
Right.
But you were willing to do that.
That was our first time around. We were misinformed as to how to calculate, the lots, because it's an awful lot of land. So, right here, yeah, that's how we got there. And when we've considered, the 4 or 5 big lots, if we turn this over to 4 or 5 individual builders, they're all going to do what they do best, which is to get as many lots in that corner of their property as they can. On the Poland Range Road, as we've shown on the plan, we could have this 2,000 feet of frontage. We could easily get 6 house lots there. Each one would have a separate driveway and a big green lawn, so that the whole, that whole 2,000 feet would be mostly lawns and driveways. So that's why we went with the conservation ordinance, so we could keep it off the road. Houses are tucked in the back, and that's how we got there.
No, I'm sorry. I understand all that, and that's why I guess what, as a planning board, we're looking at, part of what we need to look at is the impact that you're gonna have on the town.
Right.
And so we've got to wrestle with that. And so it's just trying to figure out a way, how the thing that you want to put here, what's ultimately going to be the impact on that portion of the town. And it's a very sensible concern that the residents have and we have as the planning board for the town, is the impact that this is going to have. And so that's why I'm bringing up, like, what is it conceivable to have another option? Because from what you're saying, and I appreciate it. This is from a conservative standpoint, and Royal River confirmed what you're also saying. That's why I asked them that this layout from strictly a land conservation perspective seems like it's the best. But we also have to deal with the impact that this development might have on the dirt road, which is a struggle that we have as a planning board for us. So.
Well, the question was why the Poland Range Road, and that's the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to preserve the best part of
Right.
it.
Pat, I'm wondering if we can address the waivers, because I think there is a connection between this topic and that topic.
Yeah, that's where I was going next. So that being said, have at it.
Yeah.
Let's go that.
Okay.
We'll go your route and then because I think I agree with you. They're all kind of combined together.
Those things are connected only because they're asking for waivers of the 1,000-foot limit on a road, and that additional driveway off the Brown Road. And I think I'm very aware that this is our first conservation easement coming through. I'm also very aware that when we were talking about waivers for the 1,000-foot limit on a road, it was so we could push the houses deeper into the property. It was not so we could elongate the road and create more frontage. And that is the only thing I am concerned with here. So I think especially, we're talking about a 1,000-foot limit, and they've given us a wonderful radius here, but the roads are wiggly. So they're actually much longer than 1,000 feet, and I'd like to see the actual footage on these roads. I'm also concerned because I don't see a footage on that wiggly driveway, and that looks to be as long as a road. So I'd kind of like some clarity there. We were very intentional about not having new driveways off existing roads, and we've got 2 houses there with a very narrow corridor coming down there. So I need some clarity too to think about those things.
Peter, could you comment on exactly how long those roads are?
I do not have an exact length on those roads, but you are correct, because it does have a generous curve there, that the road itself is longer than the 1,000-foot arc. The long squiggly driveway, that is just a driveway, not a road. So I guess I was trying to get us back to the best buildable sites for those houses. So length of driveway wasn't really a consideration for us. We were just, and I envision that being, 12 feet wide, just enough that, maybe 2 cars could maybe pass. So really just like a residential driveway, getting back in there. Those 2 lots, provided we were granted a waiver for the frontage, would have their frontage on Brown Road. So there was no need. That's not a private road. It is just a driveway. So.
Correct. But new lots inside a subdivision can't come directly off an existing road.
Right. So that was the purpose of
That's
us
the waiver.
asking for the waiver.
Exactly, yep. And
Yes.
again, first conservation subdivision coming up, I do want to make sure it is on the record that this design, compared to the last design, is so much in keeping with the spirit of this ordinance. And when you flip between the two, the concept, the lot density map and this map, this is exactly what we studied. So thank you so much for that in terms of you are truly keeping with the spirit of the ordinance. So and I should have started with that.
Yeah, I apologize. I should have started with that too. I do appreciate the thought that's gone into this plan.
I guess the other thing I would say about the road. So, I mean, we come up with your buildable or your developable land, right? You go through the various steps of the process and you set aside the land you want to conserve, and you end up with these, these bubbles of, okay, this is the best developable land because we set this, this, and this aside. And then it's a matter of, trying to access that. So, those lots, you can see there's just beautiful buildable area at the end of those two little yellow windows where we've, proposing our development. So that's kind of the reason for that teardrop cul-de-sac, so that number one, it seems smoother to kind of circle around there and not have a dead end hammerhead. But it also gives us the ability to utilize that land at the end there. And I guess I was kind of leaning on the ordinance language where it says the board shall have the ability to grant waiver requests for maximum road length on a case-by-case basis. And it seems in my experience, the open space and conservation subdivisions generally have flexibility because it's trying to give the designer, it's trying not to limit the creativity and we've got an elongated developable pod there. So we're trying to, it's long and narrow. So we're trying to stretch that out versus something that's, wider and not so long. So I guess we were hoping to get some of that flexibility and let us utilize that good buildable bubble there that we have.
You did a marvelous job because you're really pushing the bulk of the houses back away from the road. I mean, that's gorgeous. I think what I'm struggling with in terms of the spirit of the ordinance and how it was written is that once we do go beyond 1,000 feet, should we be taking any road frontage that we're gaining towards the road and actually saying, no, we're just taking that 1,000 feet and pushing it deeper into the property? So are we losing these first lots here because we've actually gained 3 off the cul-de-sac? So I think that's one of the questions that I have in terms of the spirit of the ordinance, the concerns about the road that we've heard so much about. I don't think we should be cramming as many houses onto this, especially if we do grant this waiver. So really trying to work with the spirit of the ordinance, and then also every single house here is going to have an impact on this road. So I just want to make sure we're all thinking about those things.
Well, the other thing that maybe I could add there is that you notice the size of those lots, right? So you're required to have 75 feet of frontage. And these are all much more generous. And we've also tried to take our lot lines and keep the wetlands out of these lots. So none of this lot area is in, or there's one lot 9, or a couple of those lots have a little finger of wetlands that go in there. But for the most part, we've been trying to keep those lots free of wetlands, so we don't have incursions from homeowners when that's all over with. So we've trying to be sensitive of that, and that again kind of gave us a longer, narrower strip to work with. Those lots are all, I think the ordinance talks about a 20,000 square foot lot with an advanced treatment system for septic, and we've been trying to be a little more generous with these lots. And there again, that kind of, pushes those, the road length a little bit, and the back into that development. But so anyway, those were kind of the the reasons we were trying to make those lots the best that they could be, and trying to look where a house would be, and just make sure that they have views and what they're looking at. So that was really what was driving the design, more than saying, okay, we really, we're only going to go 1,000 feet with this road, and we're going to try to get our allowable lots in there. Roads are expensive, and you do need a certain number of lots to make that economically feasible to construct those roads.
I agree with what Mercedes said about, we don't want to add road length just to add more houses. My thought when considering a waiver is the waiver, in some case with this example, in order to have one entrance versus two entrances. So like kind of the idea of on this piece, it from here to here is that 1,000 feet, and we're adding this an extra length in order to have one entrance. And likewise, if you had two roads here to here and here to here, would you have the same number of houses, and is that 1,000 feet? And we're offering a waiver in order to make it one entrance, versus if this is more than 1,000 feet, or you couldn't have as many houses with two entrances, then maybe we don't grant the waiver, or maybe we lower the amount of houses on the road, basically.
You actually are correct. I mean, we did look at this. We're using two entrances, and you do have shorter road, and it would eliminate, some of that connector strip in the middle. But we did want to just have the one punch through the woods connection to Poland Range Road. So that actually was a consideration, and
I agree
how we
with
did this.
Mercedes of actually knowing what the road distances you're proposing with this. And if you had kind of a sketch plan you already did of what two roads looks like, I think it'd be useful to see that, just so that we get an idea of that adding a waiver is actually a benefit to the town and eliminating two roads.
I think I nuance that, and I completely agree with what Mercedes is saying, is that the lot density map is there really for a cap. And the waiver was not to create an easier way to get all of those lots in. It was just for aesthetics and to protect and work with the land and optimize the conservation piece. So I think, to what you're saying, is, I think you alluded to this too, Mercedes, is, even if we were to grant these waivers, maybe we limit the usable frontage. Like if it's 1,400 feet, you can only use 1,000 feet, right? So we'll give you some bump to go a little bit further back to conform, but it doesn't mean you suddenly picked up extra road frontage to cram in more lots. So I think, there might be some sort of hybrid there, because you certainly could do a shorter road on that top one that goes back to the road. That might eliminate that middle lot, but you're already well over 1,000 feet anyway, so that could get cut off even if you kept this. And I think, to your point, Peter, I mean, it then on you as a developer and trying to maximize value here. Do you want to try to cram these down into 20,000 square foot lots to get the count, but they might not be as valuable? I mean, that's outside of our purview, but I mean, clearly you want to kind of optimize some larger lots, larger road frontage, so it doesn't have that cramped feeling in there. So each house can kind of enjoy these views and location, but I think that has to be within the allowable frontage, not where we're kind of going out of our way to grant this to create an ability to get to that number.
The full-size plan says that the northern road is 1,000 feet, but I don't know if that includes the common. But then the other road, there's no designation of how long it is. So just to reiterate, it would be good to know the exact length of those.
Yeah, that 1,000-foot arrow that you're seeing up top, that may be the point where I think that shouldn't be there, or that should have been pointing to the red arc. Yeah, I would need to measure that, and I should know that. I apologize for that. Okay. Actually, I see. Yeah. So the top I actually do have that measured. So the top road right to here is 1,469 linear feet. Right there, and down here, that is 1,249 feet to the tip of that teardrop cul-de-sac.
And Tim was just pointing out that you actually count the cul-de-sac as road length. So the circular portion of the cul-de-sac length on top of that length. So now you're,
Yeah, because you're getting frontage.
because you're getting frontage.
Frontage.
Yeah.
It's a good start.
Yeah, for sure. So I think Mercedes brings up a really good point that the idea of the 1,000 feet was to get the lots back off the road, but not to allow the applicant to put or an applicant to put in more units. So if we're looking at, you know, at this being the beginning stages of this process, the board may be interested in, if you're asking for a waiver, and this is just my sense from listening to the comments from the board, but I'm just going to throw this out there that if you're looking for a waiver on road length, the board may put some restrictions on the houses that are closer to the road. Do you guys have thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, we've tried to put those lots in, you know, the best places based on the land. So I don't, you know, I guess, seems unfortunate to give up a lot in a nice area. So, for example, are you thinking that, you know, these lots that are up close here we would give those up to get a longer road, or?
Yeah, well, I mean, because that's what we're talking, you're asking for a longer road, and the benefit to you is that you're getting 4, 5 more lots. And you're asking us for a waiver to give you that road length to get those additional lots, when really the point of giving you additional road length the intent wasn't to give you more room to put lots in, but to put those lots back further. Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
I think we can still get the lots in a 1,000-foot road. We can get the same number of lots. We're trying to make the lots better. We don't have to sacrifice lots to a 1,000-foot road. We just have to put in tiny lots.
Yep.
Which doesn't benefit anyone.
That's a fair point.
Or go for the aesthetics you're looking for with fewer lots. Well, I think what Peter was saying is, right, I mean, you're trying to do larger road frontage, have larger lots, not necessarily go down to the 20,000 square foot postage stamp size lots. Well, right, but again, that's kind of up to your discretion, right, as a developer, if you want to sell those for X or something that's larger that might get 2X. But I think from our perspective, granting extra road length to give you more of these larger lots isn't necessarily in the interest of the town or what we're trying to do here with the ordinance.
You're trying to encourage small lots.
We're not saying trying to encourage that.
So I guess where I'm a little bit stuck is if once we nail down the lot density map with how many lots were allowed, whether it's 21, 22, whatever it is, then it seems like, then our task as the design team, we've come up with the best developable areas. So I guess then we're trying to develop those. So I guess, that's where I'm thinking, and, we'll relook at that. We'll relook at the two road concept and trying to make that work. But I guess once we've been allotted a certain number of lots, I guess trying to make a reasonable road length, and maybe these are, more than people are comfortable with. But I guess trying to keep that flexibility in mind to have a little longer than 1,000 feet, if that does give you a better development in the end, that would be acceptable. So I guess we just have to go back and try to look at that and hit that balance.
Yeah, it's always a balance, for sure. Because we're giving you something. You're proposing, you want to get everything that you can out of this project, and I understand that 100%. And I get that you're trying to get that in a way, and as Mercedes said, I appreciate the way that you guys have designed it, for sure. But on the flip side, there's also the perspective of what we're trying to do, and I think it's I think trying to be thoughtful both about what the intent of the ordinance really is versus the mission of getting all the allotted lots onto the property are. And so there's a balance. And I think what we're looking at, Peter and Jim, from you guys, is to understand really what we're trying to do here, is not necessarily to give you your allotted lots. If we could get them all in there and it fit within the ordinance, you could do that. But we're also trying to follow the intent of the ordinance, I think. So, yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say, we are trying to follow the intent of the ordinance, but also one of the standards is safe road conditions or no unsafe road conditions. And whether it's 15 lots or 21 lots, I think we have to find out what the road could bear. And so there's going to be a number of things up in the air, like the waiver, but also the road. And so I think we have to move forward with some of these unknowns. And the site walk is going to definitely help, especially if the road commissioner comes out again.
Yeah. And maybe reducing a lot or two or four might decrease the impact on Poland Range Road as well. So definitely, I don't know that should we be considering voting on the waiver at this point? No,
No
just
decision.
Yep, got it. That's what I was thinking. I just wanted to clarify that.
Before we got the waivers, could I go back to the two lots on the Brown Road?
That's where I was, no, that's where I was going next. Yep, so I'm gonna let Mercedes. You already said yeah.
I already said my piece. I think it does warrant some discussion, both on intent and just what we want to do with this, because it is definitely not, it's in the ordinance that this is
Yeah.
not okay, so.
And I'll just say my views first. I think there's definitely more wiggle room on the road length and the number of lots and all that, in my opinion. And there's really not much wiggle room on a driveway, public road, is my thought.
I think the irony here is that the more we put on the Brown Road, or the more that's on the Brown Road is less on Poland Range Road. So, I just want to voice that, and I'm not necessarily saying one or the other. I'm saying, I wish that old house was a little bit further to the east, because we could do other things here. But I think we also just have to be very aware of if we want subdivisions with driveways coming off existing roads, especially in this situation. But yeah, that's the irony.
I agree with that, man. That's a good point.
But another point I'd like to make about the driveways off the Brown Road there, or the properties off the Brown Road, is if you grant a waiver for this, you're also granting a waiver to reduce the road frontage to what typically would be off a town road.
Right.
Of 300 feet. So you're taking the road frontage, which you allow in a conservation subdivision, and putting it on a main road.
Yep.
Mhm.
Point two. And I don't think that's a precedent that we're too interested in setting.
It's 150 feet, so they're 75 feet apiece. Yeah.
Thank you.
So in fact, there's not, if you were to use the normal standards of 300 feet, there's not enough room for
even a single house. Yeah. So I think it's probably fair to, like, so I do need a little guidance here, Natasha. So we're at a stage where we're giving the applicant feedback, but we're not really voting on anything, but just the impression that we're giving the applicant from our discussion is letting them know that we might not look favorably on that waiver. Is that enough? Do we move on, or how best to approach that from here?
So, looking at the ordinance and kind of maybe pie in the sky, what was hoped to be accomplished tonight, just to kind of go back to that list, was potentially scheduling a site walk, having a discussion about completeness, but that's kind of precursor to at the preliminary plat stage. So after this concept plan, that would be voted on as well. The waivers would be voted on then, but now we're having this discussion. So I think the discussion that's happening about the waivers is providing, I'll let the applicant speak to that, but is providing the needed discourse. But at this stage, you won't be yet voting until.
Yeah.
So maybe Peter has some feedback about the discussion that's happened.
Well, I guess what I'm hearing is I haven't heard anybody say they're in favor of allowing the driveway off the Brown Road. So I'm thinking when we come back, we would not have that unless somebody was speaking up and letting us know that that was something that was going to be favorable. I do know, I mean, I'm thinking part of the open space ordinance did say that those standards were flexible so that the board does, if the board did see fit, they could decide that those two lots back there were worth having the driveway off the Brown Road. I mean, that is just it's a beautiful site for a couple homes back there. So we really have hated to give that up. It was in our first concept back in May, and it's, you know, remained in this one. We just really hated to give up on that. But if you folks are just not in favor of that, obviously we need you to weigh in that would be acceptable, or we would have to do something different. If I could actually put in another plug or chip on our side, I guess I would say we do have 16 acres above the required open space. So, I mean, the 60, as we, you know, heard Terry mention, is over and above what most municipalities require, and we're above that. The 60 is above that, and we yet are another 10%, 70% above that. So we're 16 acres of open space above the required that, you know, I guess we're feeling like that's something that we've kind of anteed up to the, you know, to the project that in our favor, and hopefully, you know, people appreciate that.
It is appreciated. The collaboration with Royal River is definitely appreciated. My view on this part is I'm trying not, I hate to waste time, and I don't want to waste your time. So my thought was just try and get just floating these ideas so you can get a sense. I know we've got a mission to vote on a site walk, and we're looking at the plan as it is, but I'm floating to you guys some food for thought. And this is a really early stage in the process. So you've heard what the public has to say. You've heard some of our thoughts here, and I think this is a worthwhile conversation to have at an early stage where you guys haven't done a lot of unnecessary work. So that's just the thought process. That being said, I've kind of gone over the things that I wanted to cover with you guys tonight. I don't know if anybody else had any other comments about anything regarding the project while we have the applicants here.
Odd, you didn't go over my homework.
Well, I thought we were kind of going over all that, but if you...
Yeah, no, my comment was, I was looking at the compliance piece and the stuff like, you know, is there open space at least 50 feet wide? And they did address that.
Yeah.
So we did cover it, but I did have homework, everybody.
Yeah. So I think the next thing we want to do.
Todd, can I just say really quickly to the applicant, because I do want to make sure, one of the reasons we went to the conservation subdivision ordinance was for this dialogue in the context of the town, of the community. So I think I just want you to know that we're trying to balance the ordinance with the comprehensive plan with your rights to this land. And I so appreciate that you are taking this direction with this parcel. So I just want to make sure I say that. And I appreciate this direction because I heard that, yes, this could have gone in another direction. So we want to make sure we're keeping those lines of communication open, and to your work on this.
Thank you. Yeah, that was well said, and that's, Mercedes is the politician. I am not the politician. I'm diplomat, sorry. I am not the diplomat. Yeah, I think this is it. The site visit is the really needed to do, other than just kind of go through the stuff. Will we be able to, there's not a whole lot of snow on the ground. We should be able to get to the parts of the property that you guys would like to show us without too much difficulty.
Yes.
Yeah.
There is a storm coming in, potential storm coming in at the end of next week, but it doesn't look like a lot, but I know Christmas is next week.
Yeah. I'm actually, one, I would like to get the letters out to the abutters, and I would like time for those to get out to the abutters. We also need to have time to publicize this. So that puts us where, you think?
Two weeks would be good. And, I mean, I can get everything out tomorrow, but I would say, contract with the first week of January. That gives us.
I was thinking maybe Saturday, the 10th. And I'm thinking a Saturday to give us plenty of time.
Next meeting.
21st. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, right.
I just give you the sense of the calendar. First we should ask the,
Yes. Would the 10th, yeah, and this is open to you guys too, obviously. Would the 10th potentially work for you guys?
Would work for me, Jim.
I just do want to point out that big piece of property.
Yeah.
And 2 hours is barely enough time to walk.
Yeah, that's,
Without fooling, I've given a lot of tours.
yeah.
You know, depending on who you're with, it can take a long time, so if we're,
That's why I wanted to do it on a Saturday. We'll do it like a Saturday morning. And then we could have as much time as we need to, because it's a big parcel and it's worth taking our time for sure.
January 10th.
There's no bad weather, there's only bad clothing. Yeah. 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 Does the 10th work for the majority of the board?
Probably 50-50, but.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Ryan?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 3.
the time, Ken?
I would say 9, if that would work for you guys. Yeah, sure, go ahead. Yes, it's public. Yeah, so we would love to have you. Yep,
All the abutters will get a letter in.
yes, and tell your friends. So everybody's welcome. Everybody's welcome to come here as well, so. Yeah, sure.
can we really calculate lot density based on the hypothetical elimination of two houses on the Brown Road that actually we know will not be eliminated? If we can calculate lot density based on hypothetical situations, are we setting a precedent for the future development in other areas based on hypothetical conditions? That's all.
Taken.
Yes.
Okay, so I think we are kind of wrapped up with the Stetson Farm portion of the planning board meeting. Just have a couple little business items to attend to, so feel free to head on out if you want to, just try and do it quietly. I really do appreciate everybody coming. We do take everybody's thoughts into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
We were gonna meet for the sidewalk.
Where are we gonna meet?
Yeah, big property.
Yeah, where would you guys, Jim, where would you want to meet? On the Brown Road, and we can walk over to the other side? I agree 100%.
You have, yeah, yet? I did 2 years ago.
Yeah.
If you have snow, it's gonna be plowed and all of that too. It's up to you. Could be
Yeah, but otherwise you're parking all along
side of the road.
Poland Range Road.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so it'd probably be better Brown Road. Yeah.
You could almost split it. If there's a lot of snow, I would suggest that we have a 9 o'clock session on the Brown Road and a 10 o'clock session on Fort Range.
There you go.
This middle section is long walking through snow. Yeah, yeah.
Say. Behind, approximately 210 Brown Road, across the street from 210 Brown Road, behind the bar.
We have. Okay, you don't have to. I really appreciate your help with all this.
I appreciate
Okay, under other business, the budget.
Just to speak to that, talking to Becky today, that there's, with the loss of the town planner and Bill Schmidt's role changing, they're in process of finding the right path forward for assistance for us. And so in that regard, we can't really know what portion of the budget would go to someone who's employed by the town versus a consultant like North Star Planning. So, but regardless of that, we've spent hardly any of the money that we were allocated. And Becky said she will be here in the January meeting.
Because I'm very efficient.
Right.
What's Bill up to?
Wait, I have to add, I'm next. I'm going to talk quickly. The FOIA seminar is available as part of the select board meeting last week. There's also, if you want the presentation, it was sent once, I'll send it again. The presentation and watching the video is good. Key point, just remember about bias in terms of projects, as well as freedom of information access. Your personal emails could be subject to FOIA review. But as we are changing the whole communication process on the website, there'll be fewer attachments emailed to you, so there will be less need for you to scour your emails for a FOIA request. but word to the wise, if there is an outside communication about a project, it's two people or fewer, which means you're talking to yourself. But also, if you CC the planning board email with any communication, then it automatically goes to the planning board email, and then that takes care, I can take care of any FOIA request because it's all in the planning board email system. So that's all I have to say about that.
Say that last bit again.
So, for example, when you send out an email saying that what topics in the assignments, CC the planning board so that it goes into the planning board email and then is part of the public record. And as part of the public record, it can then be easily accessed through FOIA. So you don't have to worry about your emails anymore.
Got it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I,
Better way to say
which I haven't been doing.
I think at the same time, Marcia, though, like, it's one thing for Todd to give us assignments, but we do not want to have any back and forth because we're supposed to be doing that publicly. So if it's about that topic, you should just give us our assignments and we're only talking about process, not content.
Very clear.
Yeah. So I think we just all need to.
Right. And if there is communication, it should just be to me directly and not CC the whole group, because that essentially constitutes a meeting.
So like if,
Thank you for sending something.
just for clarity, so like if you can't make it, but you've assigned us something, we could respond just to you and say, here's kind of the points.
That's my understanding, because we're just having a
Yeah, it's not back and forth, it's just here's the points
Yes.
for you to bring up later.
Right. That's the way that I view that, as opposed to a big, long email chain back and forth. Yeah. Tim, do you have updates for us? Any upcoming projects?
There's a couple of small projects coming, single lots with involvement roads. So further evidence, planning board has to handle all roads. It's kind of, way the ordinance is written, it's kind of questionable whether you just approve the road and then it goes back to me, or, you know, what do we use for the applicant to fill out for an application? Is it a minor subdivision, something? So we're kind of working with Ben and North Star trying to figure out exactly where we go with that. But it definitely says in the ordinance that the planning board has to approve it. So there's a couple of those in the works coming your way. Turned in yet. They're in the pipeline.
I have been for guidance and have waited to hear back.
Okay.
So I think the other thing is ordinance work. Continue doing that. I haven't got a lot done there, but there is some, and I'll email that out to the board, and then we can call the lateness right down.
Yeah.
So let's see, also working with the select board on creating an overlay for a mobile home park. So that's kind of in the works, and deciding on an area. I've been looking at maps of town for features that we want to stay away from. Pools, wetlands. And, there is an area that is in mind that's beneficial to somebody that does want to put in a considering. So there's that. So there is a Board of Appeals meeting on the back, January 14th. So is everybody aware of that? I'm not sure what the procedure is. Who shows up for?
You don't have to show up, but it's interesting to consider.
Yes.
Evan.
What date was that?
January.
Okay.
Before
Yep.
And the next planning board meeting is the 21st.
Yes.
I think that's about all.
Okay. Communications, or no, yep, no, communications?
Shelters regarding the projects that Tim mentioned. And we also got the letter yesterday from Louise Billigo, which I forwarded. There was a comment about.
I did have more conversation on the Woodland.
Yes.
And he still has not found a wetland specialist to do his delineation. So I think it's really too bad because I don't think there's a lot of wetlands there. There's some wetlands that just he pointed out.
Okay.
It
Yeah.
could be, but I don't want to make him go through the whole process all over again. So if we have to vote again to extend it, then so be it.
And then, next month agenda,
Stetson will come back.
maybe, maybe not. I think we leave that up to him to kind of chew on what we discussed tonight. And then if they want to come back, they're welcome to,
Yeah.
I would say. And that's it. I move that we adjourn the meeting. All in favor?